After the sparking start of 2013 season on the Italian track of La Conca, the WSK Euro Series flew to Spain and to the ZUERA track, close to Zaragoza, where the second round of the championship is going to take place. This track has been part of the Euro Series tradition for 5 years, now due to the challenge that this track represents in the collective imagination of the karting world. Almost 200 registered entries for the second event of the series, and among them we can find the best performing drivers, whose only final objective lies in victory of both race and championship. For example, the KZ1 rankings are now dominated by Max Verstappen, who, after the triumph of the first round, has been targeted by his opponents. Their objective is stopping him from gaining excessive momentum. Joris Pax, another Dutchman, teammate of Verstappen in the CRG team, is 45 points away, not too far. Paolo De Conto might be dangerous on this track, since he knows all the secrets of the ZUERA track. We also need to consider emblazoned champions like Marc Ardigot, who will try his luck behind the wheel of his Tony kart. The KF series is dominated by two Englishmen, Ben Barnicoat and George Russell. Both of them will have to face dangerous opponents such as the French Dorian Boccolacci. The Polish Karol Bass, the Danish Nielsen, the Russian Romanov, and the bunch of others. In KZ2, the top of the ranking is occupied by an Italian parade. Riccardo Nigro will have to fight till the end to defend his first position from Marco Zanchetta. The Italians are closely followed by the Czech Miderla and by the Romanian Dragon. In the KF Junior, Lando Norris is willing to show his absolute supremacy, but will have to face foes uncountable. Among them, the foremost is Alessio Lorandi, second in the rankings with only 25 points of hiatus. Particular interest will be given to the performance of Alessio Pulcini, who unexpectedly shone as bright as day in the last event. A WSK event is not only a challenge for the drivers. The preparation of the track is difficult and tiresome. One needs the means and the manpower. A crew of capable, professional and passionate men who each time are able to present the public with a welcoming, efficient and spectacular track. In this synthesis, a brief walkthrough on the track preparation for a WSK event. After 2 days of free trials, troubleshooting and tinkering, the WSK Euro Series drivers jump in their karts, ready to start racing for the chrono, and for KF and KF Junior for the right to join the Superpole. In KF Junior, the English Daniel Ticknam is flawless and is able to conquer his first seasonal Superpole. The Ricky Flynn Motorsport driver is able to overcome both the Spanish Guillermo Russo and the connational and teammate Norris Lando. A British knight defends the crown of the KF series. Callum Millett is, in fact, the fastest on the track. The second time was among Converses, who came in right before Dorian Boccolacci. Among the veterans of the KZ2, the Italian Marcus Zanchetta was able to conquer the pole position, coming in before the Swedish Joel Johansson and the Czech Jan Midderla. In the KZ1, where the multi-awarded pilots marshal, the Belgian Jonathan Thonon was able to steal the best lap after a splendid duel against Verstappen and Ardigot, respectively 46 and 70 milliseconds behind him. These numbers bode well for the intense challenges of the pre-finals. The Superpole is a qualification which was taken directly from the SBK series. These two series, WSK and SBK, are indeed similar under some aspects, such as for the intriguing and spectacular rules. Rarely a race goes as expected. And sometimes this love for the unexpected engulfs the events themselves. For example, Carlos Checa unexpectedly decided to visit the WSK Euro Series event. The official Ducati Spanish biker and 2011 SBK World Champion decided to visit the paddocks during the weekend of racing in ZUERA. The promoter of the WSK series, Luca De Donno, welcomed him and presented him with a copy of the book about the old and interesting story of the WSK International Series. After this short parenthesis, the qualification bout started. In the KF Junior, the English landed is once again able to tear his competitors to shreds by winning 4 of the 5 races. His direct opponents for both pre-final and final will be Daniel Ticknam and Jihan Daruvala. Alessio Lorandi ranks among the best performing drivers for these bouts, whereas Pulcini is in the back alleys of the race and will have to show all of his prowess in the next races. In the KF series, the English Callum Millett was the best performing driver, but the Italian Felice Tiene took up the scent and chased closely, with 2 victories in the bouts. The French Converse and Boccolacci are close behind them. In KZ2, the Swedish Johansson is able to conquer the pole position in the pre-final by the skin of his teeth, beating the Italian Zanchetta by a handful of milliseconds. Also Midderla and Nigro performed decently. In the KZ1, the Belgian Thonon was once again able to have no real opponent, gaining the right to start from the pole position during the first final. Behind him, 2 Italian drivers, Marco Ardigot for Tony Kart and Paolo De Conto for Birel. Verstappen was only able to obtain a 10th position due to some technical difficulties with his clutch during the second qualification bout. Before going to the final and pre-finals, let us recap what happened during the first event of the WSK Euro Series on the La Conca track.
WSK Euro Series.
The first final on display is the KZ2, where the pole position has been claimed by the Swedish Johansson on his Energy, while Marcus Zanchetta is right beside him on his Maranello kart. The Swedish is able to maintain his first position and starts leading just ahead of Nigro and Midderla, who were able to overtake Zanchetta when the karts darted from the grid. Not impressed, Zanchetta keeps his pace up and is able to first conquer the third position from Jan Midderla during the second lap, and one lap later pass Ricardo Nigro, who slips back into fourth position. Far from being satisfied, Zanchetta keeps grinding asphalt under his wheels and is able to snatch the first position from the Swedish fingers of Johansson. And once in the lead, with the wide prairies of the asphalt in front of him, the Italian is able to open a gap between him and his opponents, closing the race with an advantage of 1.7 seconds on Midderla and over 2 seconds on Johansson. After the KZ2, the KZ1 is displayed on the starting grid, ready for the final. Thunon is in the pole, and Ardigo is right beside him, ready to exploit each and every of his mistakes. The most impressive trait of the race is the amazing comeback by Max Verstappen, who, starting from the 5th row, was able to astonish both the fans and his team. When the race starts, Marco Ardigo is the first to floor his accelerator and is able to go up first. Behind him, Thunon, Da Conto, Heinley, Abbas, Kozlinski and Verstappen, who is 7th. One lap after the other, Verstappen passes his opponents one by one, disregarding the fact that all of them are expert and competitive kart drivers, and just chewing them under his wheels. All but Ardigo, who still holds the first position. It's now between Max and Marco. The last laps are so hot that the temperature seems to have risen. The gap between the two drivers was 0.6 of seconds, 3 laps before the end of the race. But the winner ended up being decided in the last sprint of the race. And the winner was Ardigo. Imagine the anger and frustration when Ardigo found out that due to technical unconformities, his Tony car was not included in the final rankings. Sunday morning, the drivers are up bright and early. 3 pre-finals and 4 finals have been scheduled for the day. Before starting though, it is worth mentioning the presence of the Pata team in the paddocks and around the track. Pata has guaranteed its presence at the WSK events, and in such a critical moment for Europe, The strong signal gives good hopes for the WSK future. Two different pre-finals for the KF Junior drivers. During the first one, Norris is pretty explicit about his hopes for the final. In fact, the Ricky Flame Motorsport pilot seems possessed by some supernatural entity of the driving, and only his teammate Daruvala is able to keep up with him, finishing the race up second, 1.7 seconds away from Norris. Behind them, the performance by Alessio Lorandi is also worth mentioning. The baby race driver was the starring protagonist of a heartfelt comeback, which gifted him with the third final position. The second pre-final was slaughtering ground for the English Daniel Tickner, who is also flapping the flag of the Ricky Flame Motorsport. Notwithstanding the rare plunges by the Russian Sitnikov, Ticktum's race was easy and without major uncertainties about his victory. Second is indeed Sitnikov, 9/10 away from Ticktum. Among the best, we can find the English Ahmed Enan, the American Logan Sargent, and the German Nick Batch, son of Schumacher. During the KF pre-final, the pole position is Carlo Millet's, who is flanked by the Italian Felice Etienne. When the lights go out, the French Boccolacci is able to slither his way through his opponents and to take the lead. Behind him, Kevin Lavelli, Felice Etienne, Carol Bast, and the French Amman Converse. Elot is forced away from the head group due to a contact. All of the head group is packed tightly together, and in the end Boccolacci is able to win the race in a final sprint who gave him victory on everyone else, 5 milliseconds on Converse and 174 milliseconds on Felice Etienne. The first scheduled final is the KF Junior one. In pole position we can find the English Ticktum, flanked by Norris Lando. Behind them, Sitnikov and Daruvala. Alessio Lorandi can be found in the third row. When everyone slams the pedal down, Ticktum is able to gain control of the race, followed by Daruvala and Logan, who had started from the fourth row. Potential suitors to the podium are also Norris Lando, Mick Birch, and Vladimir Atoev. During the third lap, Sitnikov is able to overtake two opponents and is thus in the lead of the race, while Lando improves his position by 2. During the fourth lap, Ticktum is able to get back in the lead by passing Sitnikov, but his joy is short-lived. Norris Lando, with a double pass, gets back at the top of the food chain. Lando's speed is hard to fight back, and in just 2 laps, he has already earned 0.5 seconds. The other drivers can only compete for the other 2 podium positions, and the fray is densely populated. Ticktum, Sitnikov, Logan, and Enam. 3 laps to go, and Ticktum is able to sprint forward, leaving Logan and Sitnikov to a bloody battle for the third position, which is eventually won by Sitnikov. In the end, it is Norris winning with 3 seconds on Ticktum, second, and Sitnikov, third. On the podium, Norris might be starting evaluating his chances for the championship.
Well, we started the weekend off very well. In practice, we were really fast. Qualifying, not so great. We could have done better. But I think our performance over the weekend has been very good. And like you said, it's my first year in KF3. And yeah, I'm performing very well for what I've done so far. So I think this weekend's been very great for us.
The KF karts are in the meantime ready for the final. The first row is occupied by two French, Boccolacci in pole and Converse at his side. Tiene and Carol Bass will be starting from row 2. At the start, Converse deftly sifts through the cart and gains the lead ahead of Boccolacci, Tiene and Kevin Lavelli. In spite of the French defense line, Tiene is able to whiz them both by and to earn second position during the second lap. Behind him, the Polish Bass, but the Italian is flooring it and is able to open a gap of at least 0.5 seconds between him and his pursuers. During the fourth lap, Converse conquers the second position, overtaking Bass, who is later passed also by Lavelli. During the seventh lap, Boccolacci attacks Converse, who later, during the ninth lap, falls back into fourth position, overwhelmed by Lavelli. When the checkered flag briskly flaps during the 15th lap, Felice Tiene is the first to pass the finish line. On the podium, we find him together with Boccolacci and Lavelli.
In finale è stata dura perché c'era Boccolacci, Converse, Lavelli e Bass che eravamo entrambi molto veloci e con lo stesso passo, però diciamo gli ultimi 5-6 giri ho dato tutto me stesso e quello che il telaio sia il motore mi potevano darmi e sono riuscito un po' a prendere un vantaggio che mi ha permesso di vincere.
In the KZ2 final, the first row of the grid is entirely made of Italians. Zanchetta is occupying the pole, while Negro is at his side. Behind them, the Norwegian Emil Antonsen and the French Roy Maxime. As soon as the race starts, Negro plunges forward and occupies position number 1. Behind them, Antonsen, Maxime, Jan Mederla and Simone Cunati. The duel for the lead is white hot for the first 3 laps, while Zanchetta tries to find a hole in Negro's defenses. Once he finds it, he exploits it and is able to return in first position. Once he's there, Zanchetta unbridles his Maranello kart and he lets the pure power do the talking, gaining 0.5 seconds on advantage. His opponents will only be able to battle for the second position now. During the 9th lap, Mederla gains the position on Maxime, turning up third. In the meantime, Zanchetta wins with a gap of almost 2 seconds on everyone else. The podium will be shared with Negro and Mederla, his direct opponents for the championship title.
ZUERA is going to deliver the first prize to Marco Zanchetta.
E questo weekend è andato veramente molto bene perché siamo partiti già con le qualifiche, abbiamo fatto un buon tempo, eravamo veloci sia nelle manche che nel giro secco. Abbiamo avuto un po' di imprevisti nelle manche con qualche contatto, però siamo riusciti ad andare sempre avanti e riuscire a recuperare. Abbiamo vinto e credo sia una bella cosa, insomma.
And in the end, last but not least, the KZ1. Verstappen is occupying the first position. He and his CRG kart are the main suitors to the title, even if they are rookies of the KZ1 category. On the Dutchman's side enters Benjamin Hanley, another willful youth whose talent is undisputable. In the second row, Lennox Lab and Jorik Pax. Hanley is able to catch Verstappen off guard when the metal of the car starts vibrating, and his hard Grand Prix is first. Third place for Pax, followed by Iglesias, Toninelli, Abbas and Dresen. 20 car drivers are struggling on the track as they head back on the La Conca track. Lennox Lamb is swept away by the tide of his opponents, ending up 10th after just 1 lap. Benjamin Hanley manages the first position for 2 laps before Verstappen retakes what seems to be his right by birth, and the Dutchman's kart is once again unopposed. Its engine sings a solo which no one can match, and the pilot is able to report some impressive times. Behind him, Hanley and Pax are in second and third position. When everything seems decided, the English Lennox Lamb decides to rock the party and ask for forgiveness for his horrible start by retaking position after position. Third lap, he is 9th. Fifth lap, and he is 7th. 8th lap, and he is now in the thick of things, in 4th position, 1.3 seconds away from Pax. After another 2 laps, the gap has been closed through furious racing, and Lamb is ready to conquer the third step of the podium. When the flag flaps, Verstappen almost casually wins, for the 4th time in a row. There is not much doubting about the righteousness of his claim to the title. Second and third positions are occupied by Hanley and Lamb.
ZUERA delivers the third prize.
Of course, it's more fun. You know, you can fight with some people on the track. But I also like, you know, to stay in front and win the race. But yeah, yesterday we had bad luck in Heat 2. Burned the clutch, but I couldn't do anything about it. It was just a inside problem in the engine. And then at start 10 for final 1. So I knew I was fast enough to come to the front. So my start was not bad. I think after the first lap I was already in 8th position. And then I passed lap by lap the people in front of me, and I was on 1/10 behind Marco in the last lap. So I was a bit disappointed I couldn't pass him, but I think from starting from 10th position and finishing second was not too bad.
Here are the rankings for each category, after the second event of the WSK Euro Series. In the KF Junior, Lando Norris occupies the first position with 174 points, followed by Daniel Ticknum at 78 and Alessio Lorandi at 60. In the KF, Dorian Boccolacci leads the ranking with 90 points, followed by Ben Barnico at 77 and by Felice Tiene at 60. In KZ2, the leader is Marcus Zanchetta with 145 points, followed by Riccardo Nigro at 104 and by Jan Medela at 80. Last but not least, the KZ1 is firmly led by Max Verstappen with 170 points, followed by Benjamin Hanley at 70 and by Jory Pax at 57. After Easter, the WSK Master Series will come back on the 7th of April with the second round of the international track in Sarno, Naples.